Hi, this is Hugo Venegas, and I want to welcome you to our pre-recorded services here at the First United Methodist Church. We are delighted that you can celebrate the goodness of the Lord with us, and we want to give a special appreciation, a special shout out to our veterans. It's Veterans Day as we're recording, and we want to thank you for how you have honored us, how you have served your country. Thank you for your service. We also want to say thank you to those who are active, who are serving around the world. We appreciate all that you do, and thank you very much. We also want to let you know that this Christmas, we are trying to do a special outreach for our kids. We have about 45 to 50 kids that we're trying to minister to every month. There is a little bag of goodies that we take to their various homes. And we have talked about sending a gift card in the bags for the kids, but someone brought to our attention, kids want to have their toys. Kids want to know that they're going to get their gifts. So this year we're not doing Toys for Tots for safety reason to keep our volunteers safe. But we're going to ask you if you could donate once a month. We ask you to give $10 extra. If the Lord has really blessed you and you would want to see one of these kids with a beautiful Christmas gift, just make a donation and just put under on the check kids, and then our counters will know that that is going for our children's outreach. Please continue to pray for our teachers, our administrators, and as most of our schools are going into at-home learning because of the spread of the virus, let us pray for all our wonderful teachers and our administrators and the great work that they do. And also continue to pray for our emergency workers, our medical personnel, our police department, our fire department. They are out there trying to protect us, and they're out there trying to keep us healthy. And also, let us practice the safety guidelines. We want to make sure that we're all safe and that we're enjoying the health. Our services are shut down on Sundays until the cases go down and until the county allows us to have 50 people back into the sanctuary. So God bless you. Sit back, enjoy the experience, and let us all connect with each other and connect with God. God bless you.
Use the talent you possess, for silent would the forest be if the only birds that sang were those who sang the best. Our call to worship this morning. God calls us to use our gifts for the building of God's kingdom, but we're afraid. Christ urges us to find our courage and not look back, but our gifts seem so small. The Spirit offers us everything we need, but what if we fail? Trust the gifts you have been given. We will celebrate our gifts and we worship God this day. Our opening prayer. God of fall and winter, God of spring and summer, you know the seasons of our lives. Let the season of darkness and doubt pass away, that we may be reborn in your light. Lead us into a season of light and warmth, a season of joy, a season of sober judgment, a season where your children clothe themselves in the breastplate of faith and hope, and the helmet of hope and salvation. Help us put aside the ways of darkness and live as children of the light. Amen. Please join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I want to invite you to taking a couple of minutes to do a guided meditation. And I want you to just take a couple of breaths and breathe in and breathe out deeply. Relax the body, relax your mind. Let it out 3, 4, 5 times. And then I want you to think of love, how much God loves you. Think about his sacrifice on the cross for you. Think about the communion table when he says, this is the body, my body that is broken for you. This is my blood that is poured out for you. And in 1 Corinthians 13, Paul says that although we should speak in the voices of angels and we should give ourselves to be burned to the flames, and if we understood all mysteries and if we had all the riches, but if we have no love, we're nothing. We're just a sounding cymbal. We're just noise. We're just static noise. And I want you to infuse your heart with Christ's love, with God's love. As this song is being played, I want you to focus on God's love, breathing God's love, and then making a commitment to breathe that love out on someone. Breathe that love out to your grandkids. Breathe that love out to the community. Breathe that love out to your neighbors. Breathe that love across the ocean, across to those missionaries who are preaching God's word. Breathe in God's love. Breathe out his blessing and his love to others. Join me as we meditate while the song is being played.
The tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become a sounding brass. Or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries, and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. Love suffereth long and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. Beareth all things, believeth prophecies they shall fail, and whether there be tongues they shall cease, and whether there be knowledge it shall vanish away. But love never faileth, and now abideth faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love.
John testifies again about Jesus. John 3:22 through 36, New International Version. After this, Jesus and his disciples went out into the Judean countryside, where he spent some time with them and baptized. Now John also was baptizing at Aenon and Salim, because there was plenty of water, and people were coming and being baptized. This was before John was put in prison. An argument developed between some of John's disciples and a certain Jew over the matter of ceremonial washing. They came to John and said to him, "Rabbi, that man who was with you on the other side of Jordan, the one who testified about, look, he is baptizing and everyone is going to him." To this John replied, "A person can receive only what is given them from heaven. You yourselves can testify that I said, I am not the Messiah, but am sent ahead of him. The bride belongs to the bridegroom. The friend who attends the bridegroom waits and listens for him, and is full of joy when he hears the bridegroom's voice. That joy is mine, and it is now complete. He must become greater. I must become less. The one who comes from above is above all. The one who is from the earth belongs to the earth and speaks as one from the earth. The one who comes from heaven is above all. He testifies to what he has seen and heard, but no one accepts his testimony. Whoever has accepted it has certified that God is truthful. For the one whom God has sent speaks the word of God for God, gives the Spirit without limit. The Father loves the Son and has placed everything in his hands. Whoever believes in the Son has eternal life, but whoever rejects the Son will not see life, for God's wrath will remain on them.
You make it easy to love you. You are good and you are kind. You bring joy into my life. You make it easy to trust you. You have never left my side. You've been faithful every time. All I want is you, Jesus. All I want is you. You are the fire that leads me through the night. I'll follow you anywhere. There's a million reasons to trust you, nothing to fear, for you are by my side. I'll follow you anywhere. Oh, Jesus, you came to my rescue, took my place upon that cross. You redeemed what I had lost. Now my whole world's revolving around you. You're the center of my life. You're the treasure. You're the prize. All I want is you, Jesus. All I want is you. You are the refuge I run to. You are the fire that leads me through the night. I'll follow you anywhere. There's a million reasons to trust you, nothing to fear, for you are by my side. I'll follow you anywhere, follow you anywhere. Oh, I'll follow you anywhere. Oh, wherever you lead me, whatever it costs me, all I want is you, Jesus. All I want is you. Wherever you lead me, whatever it costs me, all I want is you, Jesus. All I want is you. Wherever you lead me, whatever it costs me, all I want is you, Jesus. All I want is you. You are the refuge I run to. You are the fire that leads me through the night. I'll follow you anywhere. There's a million reasons to trust you, nothing to fear, for you are by my side. I'll follow you anywhere, follow you anywhere. I'll follow you anywhere. I'll follow you anywhere.
This weekend, I want us to do something fun. I want to have a fun conversation with those of you who are at home and those of you who are watching us from different parts of the country and the world. This is what I want you to think about. It's 2020. At the end of the year, Time Magazine is going to have the Person of the Year. 2020 has been a crazy year. So what I want you to have a conversation about is, who do you think is going to appear on the front page of Time Magazine as the Person of the Year? This is epic. Who is going to be the Person of the Year of 2020? Now, some of you may be saying, Venegas, why are you having us think about who is going to be the Person of the Year for 2020? Well, I thought about it when I was reading today's passage. We're studying the Gospel of John, and we're right now in chapter 3, beginning at verses 22, and we're going to go to verses 36 and close out chapter 3. And this is one of the busiest passages that we have studied so far. There is a lot of stuff going on, and in fact, there is a debate going on about the popularity of Jesus versus the popularity of John the Baptist. In fact, the disciples of John the Baptist, if you look in verse 23, and 25, they're arguing. There is a Jew that is arguing with the disciples of John the Baptist about something. John the evangelist doesn't tell us what the argument is about. Then, as you see in verse 22, it says, after this, Jesus and his disciples went out into the Judean countryside, where they spent some time with them and baptized. So it says that Jesus is baptizing, John is baptizing, and then a Jew picks a fight, a verbal dialogue with his disciples, and then notice what happens here in verse 26. So the disciples of John the Baptist came to John and said to him, Rabbi, the man who was with you on the other side of the Jordan, the one who you testified about, well, he is baptizing and everyone is going out to him. So what in the world is happening? In Judea and in Jerusalem, people are arguing about who is more popular, Jesus or John the Baptist. In fact, the disciples of John the Baptist are taking this so personally that they come to him and they say, John, do you know the guy that you were talking about? That you said that he's the light of the world and the Son of God? Well, he's out there in the desert baptizing, and everyone is going out to him. He is popular. So there is this debate. Who is going to appear on Time Magazine Person of the Year in Israel? Is it going to be Jesus, or is it going to be John the Baptist? Now, John the Baptist addresses the crowds and addresses his disciples, and he says, wait a minute. This is not a popularity contest. I told you guys from the very beginning that I am just a light worker. I am a servant, that I have come to testify about he who was coming. He who is the light of the world. I told you that from the very beginning. I told you I am not even worthy to untie his Birkenstocks. I am not even worthy to wear his sandals. He is big, he will increase, and I will decrease. I am just a voice in the desert, announcing the coming of the Lord. I am a servant. I am a servant. In fact, if you look at what it says here in verse 29, John says, the bride belongs to the bridegroom. The friend who attends the bridegroom waits and listens for him and is full of joy when he hears the bridegroom's voice. The joy is mine. It is now complete. He must become greater. I must become less. So what is John the Baptist saying to his disciples? He's saying to his disciples, wait a minute. I am part of a wedding party. I am just one of the groomsmen. And I am working to make sure that everything goes well. I am making sure that the groom is taken care of. I am making sure that everything is organized. I am making sure that we got the rings. I am making sure that there is enough wine in the house. I am making sure that everyone is dressed and look their best. But when the bride comes in, she belongs to the groom. I am not the groom. I rejoice when the groom comes in and when the bride comes in and the groom sees the bride. I just give it up. I am just a servant. So that's what he's saying. He's saying basically, I am not into your popularity contest. I know who I am. I am a light worker. I am a servant. I am part of the wedding party, but I'm not the groom. So John the Baptist understood who he was. He was not trying to be more, but he was not trying to be less. And notice what it says here, and this is one of the beautiful verses in this passage. To this John replied, a man can only receive what is given to him from heaven. Did you hear that? Everything that you have, everything that you are, everything that I have, everything that I am comes from heaven. I cannot be more than what God has called me to be, but I should not be less than what God has called me to be. So there is a temptation that we all face when we're doing God's work. When we're light workers, there is a temptation that we face, and that is the temptation that is opposite of something. Either we're trying to be more than what God has called us to be, or we're trying to be less than what God has called us to be. And John the Baptist is no more than who God gave him to be. And he's no less than what Christ has called him to do. And he was having a prosperous ministry. He was having a popular ministry. And this is something that the debate is going on. Who is more popular? Who is increasing? Who is decreasing? And they're worried about that. John's disciples, the Jews, are worried about that. People are jealous about that because one of their people is getting more recognition. One of their prophets is getting all the praise and adulation. And you see the busyness of the passage. All this debate is going on. But in the middle of this passage, I want you to observe something. I want you to look at verse 24. Because the key to the person of the year in the Jerusalem Time magazine comes down to what you will see in verse 24. Look at what it says here. It's in parentheses. And now it is not John's disciples speaking. It is not John the Baptist speaking. Now it is John the evangelist, the writer, who inserts in verse 24, this was before John was put in prison. Do you see what he's saying here? That John's ministry was just as good as it was before when Jesus showed up. In fact, John is basically showing us that John the Baptist's ministry at that point, when there was this debate, his ministry was increasing, not decreasing. And you're like, where do you get that, Venegas? Look at verse 23. Now, John was also baptizing at Aenon, near Salem, because there was plenty of water and people were constantly coming to be baptized. Did you get that? John the Baptist was not baptizing down in the Jordan. He had moved to another place where there was more water because there were so many people coming to him. So I want you to picture this. There is John the Baptist down at the Riverwalk, and he is baptizing people. Yes, right there in the Riverwalk. He's baptizing people, but more people are coming, and now he says, guys, we need to go out to Lake Pueblo because there's so many people wanting to get baptized that we can't fit them all down here at the Riverwalk. So he goes where there is more water because the people are coming to him. And then Jesus is out in another place, and people are going out there to be baptized. So there were contemporaneous. There were both of them increasing in their ministry. The pews were being expanded. The masses were showing up. Things were happening in both ministries. And what John tells us in verse 24, that John's ministry did not start declining until he was put in prison. Do you see why he put it in a parenthesis? John is basically inserting his opinion. John, the writer, is basically saying, it's very ludicrous that you folks are fighting as to who has the biggest ministry, whether Jesus or John, because they both do. And in fact, John's ministry did not start declining until he got put into prison. So that begs the question, why was John thrown into prison? We know that John was a light worker. He came to talk about the light. We know that he was a servant. We know that he was part of the wedding party, but he did not think himself as the groom. He's saying, Jesus is the groom. I'm just the best man here. Thank you. But John is trying to tell us something more about John the Baptist, and he's trying to remind us that he got thrown into prison. Although John doesn't mention it, he puts it in a parenthesis, and that begs the question, why was he thrown into prison? He was thrown into prison because of Herod. Remember Herod, the political leader? Herod wanted to kill John the Baptist. And you may ask, why did Herod want to kill John the Baptist? Because John the Baptist knew that Herod was having an affair with Herod's brother's wife. And John the Baptist being a prophet, and a prophet is there to speak truth. A prophet is there to speak God's truth. A prophet is there to bring light into darkness. And John was basically saying, John the Baptist was saying, Herod, what you're doing is not okay. What you're doing is not okay. You can't be having an affair with your brother's wife. That's unacceptable. And Herod hated him for that. Herod wanted to kill him. But you see, Herod was a people pleaser. And he knew that if he would have John the Baptist killed, he would have an insurrection on his hand because people viewed John the Baptist as a prophet from God. And because he was afraid, being a people pleaser, he did not have John killed but threw him in prison. And therefore, that was when John the Baptist's ministry started declining, because once you're in the prison, you can't be baptizing and you can't be preaching. So what we know after this is that Herod threw a big party, and his stepdaughter, his lover's daughter, Herodias, was his lover, and Herodias comes in and they throw a big party, and the teenage girl dances and she pleases the crowd and everyone goes crazy, and Herod is proud of her, and Herod says, I will give you half of my kingdom. What do you want? You have pleased, you brought the house down, and here is Herod. He's an egomaniac. Herod is on top of himself. Herod is all about himself. It's all about what he likes. It's all about his power. It's all about his political influence. And then the young girl goes to her mom, and Herodias says to the teenager, ask your papa for John the Baptist's head on a platter. And oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And because Herod was such an arrogant, proud, and narcissistic person, he could not back down on what he had said to the masses, so he ordered and had John the Baptist beheaded, and his head was brought on a platter in front of the crowds. John the evangelist is saying, the reason John's ministry ended, it's because Herod and Herodias beheaded him. The mighty light worker who came to prepare the way for the Messiah was now beheaded. And that brings us to the point that sometimes in a popularity context, the mighty dies and the midget lives. The mighty prophet John the Baptist dies, and the puppet king Herod and his jealous lover Herodias, they are the ones who live. We live in an upside world in which prophets die and puppets of the masses live. We live in a world where the mighty dies and the midget lives. And later, when the disciples go to Jesus to give him the news that the mighty John the Baptist has fallen, Jesus said, he is the one who deserves to be on the magazine's cover as the person of the year, because he let his light shine, because he was a servant, and because as a prophet, he spoke the truth. He did not allow the powers to be to intimidate him from lowering his light. He did not allow the culture and the debates to suck him in to the point that he became a people pleaser instead of a God pleaser. John the Baptist, the mighty light worker, fell to the sword because he was faithful faithful to God person of the year. How are you going to end up at the end of this year? Are we going to be faithful to being lights? Are we going to be faithful to being servants? Are we going to be faithful to the truth of who Jesus is? You deserve to be on the front page of Time magazine if you continue to let your light shine, if you continue to serve God, and if you continue to be a speaker of truth. God bless you.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. My sin, oh the joy of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, oh my soul did his well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. With my soul, my soul, Lord, my soul.
Let us receive the benediction. People of God, clothed in faith and showered in love, we go forth shining with God's light. Washed in joy and bathed in hope, we go forth radiant with Christ's love. Blessed with gifts far precious than jewels, we go forth blazing with the fire of God's Spirit. People of God, you are light workers. People of God, you are servants of the living God. People of God, you are speakers of truth in a world of darkness. You deserve to be written on the front page of God's heart. Let us be faithful today and forevermore to the living God. For this we ask in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God bless you.